Hey friends, it's Lisa Ziegler dropping in again because we are going to have an amazing discussion again tonight. I am going to be talking to Amy of Drive By Flowers. Sorry, y'all, dropped my paper. And I just cannot wait to learn more about her and her business. So, Amy, if you just touch the little video camera, there it is. She knows she's a pro at this. Nope, that's not her. So, Amy, there it is. I'm going to send you an invite. So, I'm just loving. Hey, Amy.
Hey Lisa, can you hear me okay?
I can hear you
Okay,
just fine, just fine.
awesome.
Thank thank you so much for joining me here tonight.
Yeah.
I'm really excited to talk to you. I don't know if you caught my discussion. I guess it was a couple of nights ago with Becca, who is another florist event person that is sourcing locally, and I'm just really so excited and invigorated after talking. And I know your conversation is going to be the same. I kind of stalked you a little bit today, and it's pretty impressive what you've done. So thank you so much. And tell me how you say your last name. Is it Cordy?
Yep, you got it.
Okay, okay. So everybody, for anyone that I haven't met before, my name is Lisa Mason Ziegler, and I am with the Gardener's Workshop. And we are just carrying a big old banner about getting the word out about local flowers and just about community and about why all the wonderful reasons we should be doing it like our grandparents did decades ago. And I've been talking to people that are actually doing it. It's really interesting to research something and think, oh, maybe I could do that. But to hear from people that are doing it is just really, really awesome. So, Amy, I would ask you first, introduce yourself, tell us where you are, and just tell us kind of how you came to be doing this and what it is you're doing.
Yeah. So I'm Amy Cordy. I am the owner of Drive By Flowers. So we are about like an hour or so outside DC, and I would say we're probably what people would consider city folk would consider the rural beginnings of the rural part, just outside Northern Virginia. So not that far though from DC. Um, so I actually have a background in clinical counseling. I completed my master's in counseling and I did that. But when I got married, I actually sourced local flowers from a like pick your own farm in Loudoun County. And I didn't know anything about flowers. I didn't know what a dahlia was. I didn't know that I even had them in my bouquet. But I loved it was just like the most peaceful, enjoyable thing ever. And I did my own wedding flowers, but then that was 9 years ago. And so I remember talking to a designer who I now freelance for probably 3 years ago, and she told me what she did, and I said, man, if I could do anything, I would do your job. Like if money was no, I would do your job. And she said, you should
Right.
go do that. You should go do that. So yeah, so really probably I incorporated in 2020. So again, just like Becca, smack dab in the middle of a pandemic. What better time to do that? So I really kind of jumped in, but I'd done friends' weddings and things like that, using mostly local flowers over the last 3 or 4 years. So
So, are you growing it all, or are you strictly a designer? So, are you a farmer florist or a florist, or what do you classify yourself as?
I don't even know, Ellen. Yes, I do grow. I started growing. So about 3 years ago, I had kind of a moment where and a lot of us have these moments. My grandfather, who I was really close with, passed away pretty suddenly, and he was a grower. He grew vegetables, but he actually went to school to study horticulture. And he dropped out to become a long haul truck driver when his wife, my grandmother, got pregnant. He never really realized that dream, but he grew roses. And so after he passed away, I went to our nearest nursery and I just bought a bunch of roses, which I still haven't figured out. Roses I haven't figured out. But I started growing that season, and really I bought your book, Cool Flowers, and dove into that in the December, January timeframe, and kind of kept going with it. So I do grow. I have an acre. I really just sort of set out to grow what I wanted to design with. So a
Right.
lot of the colors, a lot of the shapes, rather than specific varieties, your line flowers and your mass flowers and flutter flowers and things like that. So I do grow, but I really, it's a very small portion of what I end up using.
Sure. And so, who is your main market? Do you do a lot of events, or are you doing day-to-day stuff, or are you doing all of the above?
It's a lot more daily deliveries right now, which I really enjoy. So special occasions and things like that. I wasn't quite sure if I wanted to get into weddings. I did. I have an a la carte menu on my website, and I thought, I have three little ones, so that'll do me. That'll be great. I have
Yeah.
taken on some full service weddings, so I have one this weekend. So I think I'm really going to enjoy that too. But right now, still focused on really the people of my county and my town doing the daily deliveries.
Sure. And I think that it's just such a smart business decision to recognize the fact that you have three little ones really screams that you don't have time to be doing a lot of weddings, and to find another way. And I want to talk about your website and all of that. How would you say business is going in general for you since you've started kind of officially, kicked it out and going for it?
I think it's something that I have to temper myself. I have to be real ruthless with my time and how much I do devote to it. But it's there. I think in our town, in our community, there's a need for it, and I see the style, and people really like the style. So there are really two other brick and mortar florists, and I have a home studio for right now. The big goal would be to move into a retail space. That'd be awesome. And one just retired recently. And so there's a space, I think, in the market for both a sort
Sure.
of a loose, airy design style garden gathered, and then for really the local flowers. We are really fortunate in this area to have a lot of growers, I think. So it's going well. Certainly a profitable first year, which is really exciting for me. The
Yes.
first year you really wonder, am I going to take a loss? And it's like, okay, year one, we made a profit. That's good.
Sure. And so, what I want to talk about, because I went to your website and I have to tell you, so one of your descriptions, it might actually be on your homepage, that you were describing your designs, and you talked about, or you had verbiage that basically said you wanted the flowers to look like somebody had just walked around a garden and selected them and grabbed them up. You know that when I got married 26 years ago, I went to four, and I was not a gardener then, even. I mean, I had a shade garden. I wasn't into flowers at all. But I knew that's exactly what I said to four different florists. I said, I want but we had a small family wedding in my mother's living room. I said, I want a bouquet of flowers that it looks like I just went out and cut them and put them together and wrapped a piece of ribbon around them. And they all looked at me like I had four eyes or something. And the last one got it. But when I read your website today, it's like, that's the perfect description. I mean, I think that's kind of a really important part of all of the whole local is, making flowers. We don't need to make them beautiful. They're already beautiful, right? But what I wanted to say was, when I was on your website, first off, your website is beautiful. It looks very well done. Did you do that yourself, or did you hire it out? Or tell us about that process, because there's a lot of people asking me about this.
Yeah. Yeah, I would love so the short answer is we did do it in-house, but the big asterisk there with social media and with my website is that I have a husband who is very supportive and also works in this industry. So
Okay.
into social media. So I really lucked out in that sense.
Yeah.
I still would love to just because of the cost on his time. I really would still love to tweak a bunch of things and hire that out. That's not
It
going to be
never ends. I'm 24 years in, and we are having our website rebuilt again as we speak. We
yeah,
just had it done 2 years ago. I mean, it is a constant changing and moving. So, but the reason I asked is because because you do e-commerce, which is a piece of a website. People don't understand that changes everything. I mean, when you start taking people's credit card numbers, you have to, cover all those bases. And as I'm starting to teach, today was the first day of school for my basic class. I'm already getting questions about websites, and
yeah.
I was just curious. So you are very fortunate to have your man that, I'm married to a plumber, so there's benefits there. But
Just not
social
website
media
one.
and IT support is pretty dadgum amazing.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit. So what led you to Ellen's course? So I didn't even say that yet, that Amy was a student of Ellen Frost, who is our superstar local sourcer designer who only uses locally sourced flowers in Baltimore. And she has an online course called Florist School Online, but it's not really just for florists, growing your business with local flower sourcing. And I'll tell you in a minute about how you can learn more. But Amy, how did you come to take Ellen's course, and which class were you? This is her third class this year. Were you the first or the second?
I think it was the first. Well, no, it might have been the second. It was
Wh-
it was January.
That was the first.
Yeah,
That was the
it was.
first one.
Yes. Yeah, so I heard about it through you because I started following you from really growing and learning the process of growing. Then I was followed I'm on your email list and those sorts of things. I had heard of her because from the outset, from the time that I started Drive By Flowers, I knew I wanted to source locally, 100% if possible. And so I started kind of paying attention. Instagram is I think it's the great connector, really.
Yeah.
It's how I found a lot of the growers that I work with regularly, and so connecting with her on social media, really then kind of saw both of you sharing it and thought of all the things that I need to invest in my education about, this would be at the top of the list. So yeah, so that was the first class then.
So, I feel like one of the things that, each student I speak to that's one of Ellen's students, I learned something new about the class, that people look at things in a very different way. And so tell us, what do you feel like helped you the most out of the class? What were you looking to learn about, and was that fulfilled?
Yeah, gosh, there were so many things, Lisa. It was such a great class. It is. I still look back at the notes pretty regularly because, and I think you may have said this with in your chat with Becca. It's just depending on where you are in your business, things become relevant over time. So I
Yeah.
think the biggest thing right now that I keep referring back to is, so she really does a great job of breaking down the nuts and bolts of connecting with local farmers and what that looks like, down to how they order, their availability lists, do's and
Right.
don'ts that were really practically helpful. But I also think the larger picture of how, and I talked to her on the phone even just a couple weeks ago. She's so great about that. She's like, hey, I'll call you. It's 7 a.m. Okay. And I'm like, yes, that's thank you. you know?
She's she is an amazing teacher. I mean, she loves to help other people and empower them. And what she has to teach is the stuff.
Yes, yeah. So she really, so the business side of developing the value proposition to your clients was huge in that course. And so, even now I'm going back and thinking through, well, what is local to me? Is that, and then how can I be transparent about, am I able to source 100% locally? What are my sort of concentric circles? And putting thought into local, and then we moved to Virginia and then Maryland or Southern Virginia, or sort of beyond that to states outside of that, to American grown, and to imports if I must, which with daily deliveries that's never been a need. So um, just thinking through all of that, her sort of process in the course of helping you to determine that and then really figure out who your flower people are is all really helpful. I could go on and on. I really could.
I mean, I do think that I never really I never really pursued that point of who is my customer. I mean, you know what I mean? It's like, well, it was fortunate for me because I had customers. I didn't have to really pursue that. But I think in this landscape and day where people are so used to global everything, I mean, you order it and it's on your porch tomorrow. We really have to say, excuse me, this is what's different. This is what you're missing. And one of the things I really came away from Becca's talk is, I feel like brides really are looking for theirs to be more special than anybody else's, their event, their weddings, their whatever, their flowers that they sent, to Aunt Judy or whoever. How much more special is a community produced product that's sustaining people? I mean, it's just getting deeper and deeper for me. I posted today on Instagram that it's like when you stand on the top of this flower pile now and look how we've reached all over the world, which I know is very exciting perhaps for some people, but when you think about the logistics of it, it gets less and less warm and fuzzy and romantic. Each layer of plastic or product sprayed on the flowers or boxes or sitting in 747s, whatever you want to think about. And I also love, so tell me about what is your work week like? So you have little ones, so you're obviously concerned about everything, I love that you talked about that you didn't want to use anything that had products on it. And of course it's unknown when we are dealing with imports because they aren't regulated like we are necessarily. So tell me about your days. How does that go for you with your business?
Oh, Lisa. Well, I teach them at home, and so that does allow us the flexibility, a little bit more flexibility. This is our first year, so the verdict is still out on that. But so far so good. So there's 7, 5, and then 2, and
Woo!
yeah, in the trenches. It's so great though. It really is. So really the morning is sort of devoted to that, and it's the afternoons that I really get to work on it. It gets a little crazy today. I have a wedding this weekend. I think I'm going to probably end up sourcing from 6 or 7 different farms, and they to include a co-op, which I'm a founding member of here in Northern Virginia, and that is sort of working to reduce that 7 farm travel with the
Right,
kids in the back
right.
farm. But they go with me if I have a daily delivery, if I can work it out, because my husband we own a small business that he and our team do, which is in the social media realm. He'll come home for lunch and I'll scoot out and make my daily deliveries depending on the
Right.
day. Every week is different. Afternoons are really where I try to, protect that time, and I do have some help that does help as well. So yeah, I haven't quite gotten it down to let's order one day a week, let's pick up all the flowers the next day, let's deliver the next day. It doesn't happen that way,
It
hardly.
never will. Don't even set your goal there. I mean, even with structure, which I'm like very structured, I mean, every single day I'm saying, well, next week that won't happen.
Yeah. Yes,
And
for
it
sure.
does. It really, really does. And so I want to say that you filled out your student success form for Ellen's course. And I just want to read what you wrote because you were so I mean, what you wrote is really what our goal, what our hope, what our dream is that students would take away from our courses. And so what we asked Amy, we asked all the students that fill it out, how would you describe the course to someone? And you wrote, and I cut it a little short, informative, thorough, practical, and helpful, taught by a true subject matter expert. I mean, you just don't get better than that, right?
Yeah, she really is the subject matter expert. And it is so thorough and practical. Because the practical, I think you're sort of, when you endeavor towards sourcing locally, whether that's, just whatever you can manage, it does feel like you're kind of just feeling around in the dark and you don't really know what the standards are or what an availability list can look like or how to move through those relationships with growers because everyone is so different. So it's really helpful.
And, I mean, that's got to be scary. And I really think, I think I don't want to say, I don't even want to use the word easier, but it is easier for new people coming into the industry, I think, than for people that are used to doing it a certain way for year after year to kind of figure it out. I forget who I was talking to about it, but it's like how many conventional florists or event designers do you think have stuck their toe into this local sourcing pool without any support, without any guidance, had a horrible experience, and said, oh my gosh, who could do this?
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
I mean, can you imagine finding your way? without, I
Yeah,
mean, really.
yeah.
Um, so how do you think, I know that you've already shared that you have a lot to, that there's a lot of things she helped you with. So if somebody's on the fence and thinking about, should I take Ellen's course? How would it help me, whether I'm a newbie or maybe it's somebody that's, been doing it for several years? What would you say to them?
Well, I think that I would say, first I would say it's the best investment in terms of figuring out if you're even considering sourcing locally. It's a I would say it's almost a must for sure. That it cuts out so much of what you'd be stumbling around trying to figure out on your own. I think the other thing I would say is I don't know if you've heard there's a little bit of a supply chain
Oh my God.
challenge lately. So I think I'm seeing a lot, at least in the DC, Maryland, Virginia area. I'm seeing so much of the turning to local because your supply chain is so close to home, and there a lot of the challenges are alleviated that we're all feeling right now, from vases to flowers. The flower piece, at least, is our growers come through for us in tremendous ways. And I think that that alone is causing a lot of designers to sort of look, okay, I need to figure out an alternative plan.
Right.
And so I think that's a huge motivation too for moving toward that.
That's one thing that we have talked about, that we feel like in this, I had a roundtable discussion with other people, growers and people in all the different parts of the industry. And we feel like this is the window of time that we have been waiting for decades, to be able to really shine, to really strut our stuff and show that we can do this, we can deliver a great quality product. Would you say that local flowers are as good a quality, better, less, or exceed what you would get from a wholesaler? Did you ever order from a wholesaler?
I started outsourcing locally, and the first time that I had to use a wholesaler was for a wedding recently for roses. So if anybody in the Northern Virginia area wants to grow lots of roses, you will have a market for it for sure. And there are a few that are. They're just in small quantities. Yeah, I think and I think Ellen even talked about this in the course. The quality is there can be a huge difference in quality,
Yeah.
but also, so in stem loss and you factoring in, budgeting in whatever percentage you have to for stem loss, there's generally less of that. They're in better shape. Because they come in buckets wrapped in rubber bands. They're not in the plastic packaging or the cardboard. Um, I was going to say something else. Oh, just the varieties are like, I don't think I can imagine wholesaling dahlias. There
Yeah.
are so many different varieties, not just interesting varieties. Like I had a grower, a good friend of mine, they Grateful Gardeners there in Maryland,
Yeah.
and they introduced me to Jewels of Opar, which is like this real shimmery like seed pod. They're beautiful. They're amazing. I don't think I would ever see that at a wholesaler. So quality, yes, but also variety. It's just makes your flowers a lot more interesting, and there are things that aren't going to look good even if they are shipped, like dahlias.
Sure. So I want to ask you, so where did your business name come from?
It came from my husband. We were we were driving down the road. Well, so I think it's kind of a play on words. What the first being, I drive by flowers all the time and pull over and cut them with the clippers that are in my center console, and he knows this. So that's the first part. Or I just notice things now that are growing locally, and to just the idea of, and this is kind of planning for the future, but the idea that I want to make flowers as convenient as possible for
Right.
my customers to get, and that means ease of ordering and ease of being able to get. So ideally, we'll have a retail space at some point, and it will be as convenient and easy to get them their flowers that they
Sure.
need as possible.
That is just so true. That's one of the things that we talk about is as farmers. And we're all busy. We think we're the busiest people in the world, working the hardest, right? But to get farmers to understand that designers and florists and even the retail customer is just as busy as we are, just in
Mm-hmm.
different things.
Yeah.
And we have got to make everything super convenient. Anybody that doubts that just stand in a busy supermarket across the building from where the flowers are and watch how many people just grab a bunch and put them in their
Hmm.
cart.
It's
That's
easy.
called convenience.
Yep.
And
Yep.
it's a real reality. So I had to ask that about your name. So if you're just joining us, I am talking to Amy Cordy of Drive By Flowers. She is a student of Ellen Frost of her online course, Growing Your Business with Locally Sourced Flowers. And Amy, I just thank you so much for all your wisdom of sharing just I mean, nothing's better for people to hear is someone else's experience
Yeah.
um, with, whatever it is that you have, an online course or a product or a flower, right?
Yeah.
So tell people, I've already had somebody on Facebook here wanted to know where your website was. They want to go look at it. Tell us how people can connect with you.
Yeah, so my website is drivebyflowers.com, spelled exactly the way you think it would be, no hyphenations or anything. And then on Instagram, I'm at drivebyflowers, and then Facebook is drivebyflowers. We're keeping it simple and easy.
Sure, sure. So, are there any parting words that you would like to say to anybody that might be on the fence, not sure if they really want to do this or not? I mean, I'm like you. First off, I feel like it is such a value. Everybody knows if you're in business, this is a business expense. That's the first thing to know. The savings and mistakes, mishap, and time is pretty amazing. But I also feel like the confidence building to be able to figure out that, I mean, Ellen called you,
Hmm.
right? Or you called Ellen, one of the
Yeah.
two. It's like the support system that we have is pretty darn amazing.
Hmm.
So let me just say this about the course for anybody, or for all of our courses, actually. What I wanted to remind people of is enrollment only opens once a year. This is a school, meaning it's a 6-week course. The course does not begin until January, but enrollment happens November 5th through the 9th, which is like this Friday, for 5 days. You enroll and then school start in January. I mean, and the weekly Q&As are pretty priceless in my opinion. I actually went through a course, outside of our group, and that was perhaps for me. I didn't really ask questions. I was like a silent stalker. But didn't you find that the Q and A's just were very insightful and just brought even more depth to the course?
Yeah, because there that people are asking questions that everybody else is wondering anyways. And so
Yes.
to be able to have that asked, and the ones that I wasn't able to make the live sessions or the Facebook, there's a Facebook group which is super helpful too that I'm
Hmm.
still part of, that I still watch and see what Ellen's posting and the questions that people ask. I really missed that. If I missed that opportunity to ask questions, it was a real bummer. But a lot of the times the questions were they were ones I was wondering anyways that other people asked. So yeah,
Yeah.
that support is huge. I mean, it was a year, over a year after I took the course that I'm talking to Ellen on the phone and she's helping me navigate a situation with a local farmer, and it's amazing. Yeah, I think to kind of answer your question about just if somebody's on the fence, I think there are increasingly a million options for education these days. And that's
Hmm.
really great. We live in like the age of
Yeah.
information. Sometimes it's too much, it's overwhelming. Um, so you really have to be discerning with where you put your dollars and your time. But I think that this is for sure worth the time and the investment of all the different places that you could put your resources toward your
Right.
education. This is at the very top of the list. And I mean, there's a wide range of costs associated with that education, and this is extremely reasonable. I think Becca said it as well. It's just a lot of bang for your buck for sure.
So anybody that's interested in learning more, you can just go to thegardenersworkshop.com. I'm actually the publisher of the course. That's kind of what my part in all of this. We host it and um, hold it and take care of it for Ellen. And remember, if anybody is a student of any of our online courses, that means you're a member of our family. And that means that you get a special email with a special price. So keep your eyes out for that, and that'll come out on Friday. Um, but we're just really excited about this year's class. Each year it just gets richer and richer and deeper I mean, the depth of people that are coming into it. I mean, we have so many more florist focused or design focused people, as well as the farmers that are trying to figure out how they meet your needs. What do
Right.
they need to do, right? The other side of the
Yeah.
fence. So I really appreciate you joining with me here tonight.
Yeah. Thanks for
And
having me.
yeah, so you're not far from me. I used to, when I was still traveling, doing lots of lectures, I bet I went to Warrington and Northern Virginia and Middleburg, not Middleburg, but a lot of places around you. There's a ton of garden clubs. Would think you would have an amazing market up there,
Yeah.
for selling lots of beautiful flowers. And
Well, and it's helpful with the as I'm reading through your resources for growing. I'm like, she's in almost the same zone ish. This is perfect.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So, Amy, thank you so much for joining me here tonight. And friends, thanks so much for dropping in and taking a listen. And I just really appreciate you, Amy, and what you're doing. And it's very, very exciting. And I can't wait to see what you do in 2022.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Lisa. It was such a joy to be on here.
Thank you. Thank you.